I'm 84 years old, and before you choose a nursing home, hear me first, because I almost let other people decide what the rest of my life should look like. They said it was for my safety. They said it was for my own good. They said I needed help. And maybe they were right about that part, but they were very wrong about what that help had to look like. What I'm about to tell you is not just about nursing homes. It is about what happens when you grow old, and the world starts talking about you like you are a problem to solve. It is about how easy it is to lose your freedom little by little. And it is about the one thing I almost forgot before life reminded me. I am still a person, not a task, not a burden, not a schedule. My name is Margaret, and if you are my age, you may be thinking about this for yourself. If you are younger, you may be thinking about it for your mother, your father, maybe someone you love. Either way, stay with me. Because the choice everyone pushes first is not always the choice that saves you. Sometimes it is the choice that slowly erases you. I was not always afraid of growing old. Truth be told, I thought I would handle it better than most. I had always been steady, careful, practical. I was married to my husband Richard for 46 years. 46. That is long enough for another person's breathing to become part of the sound of your life. Long enough to forget what silence feels like. When he died, it was not just grief that came into my house. It was emptiness, a kind of emptiness that sits in the kitchen chair across from you and stays there. At first, I told myself I was doing fine. I could still cook, still make the bed, still pay my bills, still drive to the small store if I had to. I said all the right things. I'm managing. I'm okay. I like the quiet. That last one was the biggest lie. I did not like the quiet. I just did not know what else to call it. And this is where many older people make their first mistake. We confuse endurance with strength. Just because you can get through the day does not mean you are living well. I did not understand that then, but I do now. The changes came slowly. That is how it happens. Age rarely knocks hard at first. It whispers, a little shaking in the hands, a little more effort getting up from a chair, a little more fear on wet floors, a little more confusion walking into a room and forgetting why you came there. Small things, embarrassing things, the sort of things you hide, even from yourself. One morning, I stepped out of the shower and slipped. I caught the towel bar. I did not fall. But my heart nearly came through my chest. I stood there dripping wet, holding that bar, and I saw something I had been refusing to see. One bad second. That is all it would take. One bad second. And I could lie there for hours, maybe all night, maybe longer. That fear does something to you. It does not just scare you. It changes the shape of your days. After that, I moved differently, slower, careful on every step, careful getting out of bed, careful reaching for things, careful in my own house. And when your own house starts feeling like a risk, something breaks inside you. So I called my daughter, not because I wanted to, because I was scared. I asked if I could stay with her for a little while, just until I felt steadier. She said yes immediately. Of course she did. She loves me. And I want to be fair in this story. No one was trying to hurt me. That is what makes these choices so painful. Sometimes the people who love you are still the people who slowly take your life out of your hands. The first week at my daughter's house felt almost sweet. We had dinner together. The grandchildren chatted. There was noise in the house again. Movement. Life. For a moment, I thought maybe this was the answer. Maybe the hard part was over. Maybe all I needed was to be near people. but comfort can be misleading in the beginning. And what came next taught me something I wish more families understood. Living with people is not the same as belonging with them. My daughter and her husband both worked. The children had school and homework and practice and friends. By the second week, the house was full of life, but not with me in it. Most days I sat alone there while everybody else lived around me. And somehow that kind of loneliness felt worse than the loneliness in my own home. Because in my home, at least the emptiness belonged to me. In theirs, I felt like an extra chair nobody knew where to put. Small things began, tiny frictions, nothing dramatic, nothing anyone could point to and say, that was cruel. Mom, maybe not so much salt. Mom, the TV is a little loud. Mom, we'll be out for a few hours. You'll be okay, right? And I was okay. That was not the point. The point was I could feel myself shrinking, trying not to take up space, trying not to ask for too much, trying not to need too much, trying, if I am honest, not to be noticed too much. One evening I overheard my daughter on the phone. She did not know I could hear. She said, I know it's the right thing to do, but honestly, it's exhausting. That word stayed with me. Exhausting. Not evil, not unkind, just tired. And right there, I understood something painful. Love can be real and still not be enough for the life people already have. That realization broke my heart more quietly than any argument could have. After 3 months, I told her I was going home. She worried. She said it wasn't safe. She asked what I would do alone, and I did not have a good answer. But I knew one thing: I would rather be afraid in my own home than invisible in someone else's. So I went back, and for one brief moment, I felt relief. My chair, my dishes, my windows, my quiet, my rules. But relief is not the same as a solution. Back home, the truth was waiting for me. The stairs had not gotten easier. The fatigue had not disappeared. Cooking still wore me out. I still dropped things. I still forgot things. And one afternoon, trying to change a burned-out light bulb, my hands shook so badly I had to stop. I just stood there in my kitchen, staring at that dead bulb above me, feeling something rise in my throat. Not panic exactly, something sadder than panic. Recognition. This is how it happens, I thought. Not all at once, not in one dramatic collapse, little by little. One task you cannot do, then another, until your life gets smaller without you even noticing. So I decided to pay for help, a woman who could come in a few times a week, clean a little, cook a little, run errands. At first, I hated the idea. I hated having someone open my cabinets, touch my towels, move my things. There is something very intimate about a stranger entering the rooms where your life has been lived, but I adjusted. At least I thought I did. The first helper was a nice woman, efficient, pleasant enough, and for a while I told myself this was the answer. But then the bills came, $3,000 a month, part-time help, $3,000. My Social Security did not come close. My savings began to drain in a way that made my stomach tight every time I checked my balance. And it was not only the money, it was the constant adjusting. She did things her way. Then she left. Then someone new came, a new face, a new rhythm, a new set of habits, a new person to explain everything to, where the pots go, how I like the towels folded, which cup is my teacup, how much soap to use, where I keep my medicine. Then that one left too, then another, then another. I cannot tell you how exhausting it is to keep introducing yourself inside your own home, to keep training strangers to care for a life you spent decades arranging. And this is where most people make the biggest mistake. They think help is just help. It is not. Help that costs your peace has a cost beyond money. Eventually, I stopped the service. I told myself it was because of the expense. That was true, but it was not the whole truth. The whole truth was this: I felt like I was slowly becoming a project, managed, handled, scheduled, not seen. My daughter then found an assisted living place. Clean, good reputation, medical staff, safe. That word again, safe. It sounds so kind, doesn't it? Safe. But safety can become a cage very quickly when no one asks what you are losing to get it. I agreed to try it for a month because I was tired. Tired of deciding, tired of being scared, tired of failing at solutions. The first day I moved in, it did not feel like home. It felt like I had checked into a place built for old age itself. Clean walls, small room, everything practical, nothing mine. The first few days were manageable. People smiled, meals were served, residents played cards. There was routine. But routine is not always comfort. Sometimes it is just control with softer lighting. Breakfast at one time, lunch at another, dinner at 5. I have never eaten dinner at 5 o'clock in my life, but there I was, eating because that was when dinner happened. I like to read late, always have, but at night the lights dimmed in the hallway, and if your light stayed on too late, someone noticed. One evening I wanted fresh air. It was beautiful outside, cool and quiet. I headed to the door. A staff member stopped me. Outdoor time ended at 7. Outdoor time. At 84 years old. Do you understand what that does to a person? When you have lived 8 decades making your own choices, and then suddenly your choices are called policy violations. That place was not physically cruel. Let me be fair. No one screamed at me. No one starved me. No one struck me. But still, something in me began to disappear there. Because dignity does not only die through abuse, sometimes it dies through overmanagement, through being treated like risk before being treated like human. By the end of the 3rd week, I knew if I stayed there, I would be safe and miserable, comfortable and erased, protected, and no longer myself. So I called my daughter and said I was leaving. She reminded me I said I would give it a month. I told her, this is not living. And I meant it. I would rather struggle with my freedom than sit comfortably inside someone else's idea of what was best for me. So I left. And the day I walked out, the air did feel different. Lighter, but freedom without support is still heavy. Back home, the same problems were waiting. I still got tired, still had limits, still had fear, still had that long afternoon silence pressing against the windows. So for a few days, I did nothing. I sat, watched the street, thought about what was left, and to be honest, I felt close to giving up. Not giving up on life, giving up on finding a way to live it well. That is not the same thing, but it is close enough to frighten you. Then something small happened, and what happened next changed everything. I was walking to the small grocery store near my house, not the big one. I cannot do the big one anymore. Too much walking, too much carrying. But the small one, 3 blocks away, I could still manage. On the way there, I saw my neighbor Sarah, young woman, always rushing, always carrying too much on her face. She was on the phone, pacing, stressed, on the edge of tears. I knew a little about her life already. Single mother, works full-time, trying to hold everything together. I do not know what made me stop. Maybe age teaches you how to recognize drowning in other people. Maybe loneliness makes you brave in strange ways. I walked over and said, "If you ever need someone to pick up your little girl from school, I walk that way anyway." She looked at me like I had handed her oxygen. That was the start. Just one small offer, one small task, one small act that did not feel important at the time. The next day I picked up Emma from school. She talked the whole walk home about classmates, about a drawing, about a spelling word she hated. Children do that. They fill the air in a way older people forget they miss. When Sarah came by later with a plate of food to thank me, I tried to refuse. She insisted. I helped her. She helped me. And for the first time in a very long time, help did not feel like surrender. It felt like exchange. Do you hear the difference? That difference changed my life. Little by little, a rhythm formed. I picked up Emma. Sarah brought meals sometimes. Her husband fixed my leaking faucet when he was in town. He changed the bulb I could not change. Sarah helped me set up deliveries for heavier groceries. Emma taped drawings to my refrigerator, and I, without meaning to, became part of something again. Not a patient, not a burden, not a resident, a neighbor, a helper, a person with something still left to give. And that was the missing piece. I had spent all that time trying to find who would take care of me. But what my heart needed was not only care, it was purpose. That may not sound like much to younger people, but when you get old, purpose matters almost as much as breath. Without it, days become very long. Without it, safety starts to feel empty. Without it, even kindness can feel humiliating. I did not need someone standing over me all day. I needed a life where my limits were respected, but my value was not taken from me. This is not the answer for every person. I know that. Some people are much sicker than I am. Some truly need medical care all day. Some families do beautifully together. Some communities are not safe. I know all of that. I am not giving a one-size-fits-all sermon. I am telling you what I learned, and what I learned is this. There is space between total independence and total dependence. A lot of people do not talk about that space, but it is there, and sometimes that space is where your dignity survives. Sometimes the better answer is not a facility, not a full-time caregiver, not moving in with family. Sometimes the better answer is smaller, humbler, more human than that. Community, mutual help, being useful to each other, giving and receiving in the same breath. I spent thousands of dollars on care and felt more alone than ever. Now I spend almost nothing and I feel more connected than I have in years, because money buys service. It does not buy belonging. Belonging grows in a different soil, in trust, in exchange, in being needed, in being known. Sarah does not help me because I hired her. She helps me because I help her. Emma does not smile when she sees me because it is a job. She smiles because children know when affection is real. And I did not understand it then, but I do now. The thing I feared most was not falling in the shower, not forgetting a word, not needing help. The thing I feared most was becoming unnecessary. That is a deeper fear, a quieter one, but for many older people, it is the real one. We can survive weakness. We can survive slower steps. We can survive pills and appointments and aching joints. But feeling like you no longer matter? That is the wound that ages people fastest. Now I still live alone. Yes, alone. But I am not isolated. There is a difference. I still have my chair, my kitchen, my timing, my windows, my teacup, my late reading, my freedom. And I also have people. People who knock, people who call, people who need me, people I need too. That is not perfect, but it is alive, and I would take alive over managed any day. Maybe one day things will change again. Maybe one day I really will need more than this. I am not foolish. I know that day may come. But I do not live in that day yet. I live in this one, and this one still belongs to me. That matters. It matters more than younger people understand. If you are listening as someone older, please hear me. Do not let fear make every decision for you. Do not let other people reduce your life to risk and policy and convenience. Yes, be honest about your limits. Yes, ask for help when you need it. Yes, be wise, but do not hand away your whole life too early. And if you are listening as someone worried about a parent, hear this too. Safety matters. Of course it does, but so do dignity, purpose, privacy, rhythm, and choice. An older person does not stop being a whole person just because they need help. Do not solve them like a problem. Listen to them like a life. That is the difference. At 84, I have learned that a good life in old age is not about pretending you need no one. It is about finding the right people, in the right way, without losing yourself in the process. Before you choose a nursing home, hear me first. Ask one more question. Look one level deeper. Think about what kind of help preserves life, not just extends it, because there is a kind of living that looks safe from the outside and feels empty on the inside. And there is another kind, quieter, less obvious, not perfect, but real. A life where you are still yourself, still needed, still able to give, still allowed to decide what makes a day worth waking up for. That is the life I almost lost. And that is the life I want you to protect. I am 84 years old. I have tried family. I have tried paid help. I have tried assisted living. And after all of that, the thing that saved me was not being taken over. It was being woven back into life, not as a patient, not as a problem, as a person. So before you choose a nursing home, hear me first.